If you are wondering how the Necron Awakened Dynasty stack up against this new competitive tournament meta, then you're going to want to stick around because I'm going to be breaking down each game today of what worked, what didn't work, what we learned. So even if you're not a Necron player, I can promise you that you're going to get a lot of value out of this video today and hopefully some good insight as well. An added bonus, this was a 6-round major, and 4 of those games were against the new detachments. 1 against DACA, 1 against the new Tau, and 2 against the new, not the Chaos, the new Demons Shadow Legion. So without further ado, let's get into it. For the first time ever, needless to say, I am super hyped on my performance. I have never done this well ever in my Warhammer career thus far, and it was a fantastic tournament with the fellow team members and people I played against before. I was in Portland, Oregon, hosted by Straight Silver Gaming. Shout out to Johnny, being a great organizer and keeping these tournaments coming, just being well organized. Ample space, has got food, beverages in the morning. I went ahead and linked his website down below if you want to check that out. I also linked the BCP for this tournament as well. So if you want to check out the lists and win path, all that good stuff, you can look at that down below just to kind of keep things moving here. But overall went 5-1 and was absolutely shocked that I ended up getting best overall, which was crazy. So this is just a picture of my Necron case that I have in my office here behind me, and putting just the first trophy in the case. So we went with Awakened Dynasty this weekend and the Warriors, and boy, did it feel good. So without further ado, let's get into these games here. So as you can see, the first game of the day was against GSC, host of Ascension. I'm going to pop that game up here, and there we go. So host of Ascension played against Tom. Tom had I believe he had mentioned he'd watched some of my videos or came across them recently. So if you're watching, man, glad to have you here, and definitely appreciate this game. You were a pleasure opponent, and super nice guy, very chill. I mean, that's, again, I can't echo enough, like, just the community that we have here, and why I feel so fortunate to be in this area and being around this level of players is great. I would not even be close to as good as I am right now if I didn't have access to like these type of games. So it goes a long way. So thinking about GSC here, so I'm not going to drill down into my regular battle report summaries. If you're new here just watching, I do game summaries. I usually release 1 a week where I drill down in a lot more detail of each match with a lot more pictures and all that good stuff. So if that's something that interests you, go check that out. But we're not going to be drilling down too deep today because I got 6 rounds to go over, and I'd be here for like 3 or 4 hours. So we're going to be condensing this down into like 30, 45 minutes. All right. Well, I'll do my best. But I think the biggest thing I want to talk about in these games is kind of my headspace going into it as a Necron player, and then also looking at GSC. So the one thing with GSC is they do have a decent threat actually into the Warrior blob. He has these 2 I can't remember the exact names of the specific unit, but mainly what I'm asking my opponent before a game even starts is one is are there any decent Overwatch threats, and 2 are there any like high volume attack units, like like they have 30, 40, 50 shots or something with sustained or lethals. It could be a shooting unit, it could be a melee unit. And the reason why we're asking these questions is mainly because we need to figure out our target priority, either to avoid these units until later in the game, or if we have opportunities to remove them from the board, we're going to do it as quickly as possible. So the match that we're playing, this was of the 6 missions, this was the mission I was actually most scared of. And the reason for that is because the lines on this map are just brutal. Like, I mean, he can bring stuff out here and fire down this way. He can bring stuff down here, fire this way. You're just not safe, more or less. And same thing here, like where you can scout stuff up. Maybe turn 1 he doesn't have a line here, but turn 2, if I don't move block him, it's very easy to get lines on these assets back here. And this is the whole synergy of the list. Like if they're able to draw lines on these pieces, it's kind of GG if they can get them off the board. So if you're running into layouts where you can't hide those key pieces, you're going to run into a lot of problems quickly here. So this was definitely the one mission of all 6 that I played over the weekend that I was most scared of. And we were able to pull it out. So it was Scorched Earth. Tom ended up going first, and he got Cull the Horde and Secure No Man's Land. It was kind of a tough pull just because Cull the Horde, obviously the Warriors are going to give up Cull the Horde, so he elected not to cycle it, but he was going to get a 5 on Secure No Man's Land. And again, I don't have a ton of pictures. There's like a couple per game, so again, I can't go like in super detail, but more or less we're trying to make sure just avoiding those units. I know he's going to have strong board control. He's going to score pretty well in secondary. GSC are a lot like Orcs, where just by existing on the board, Guard for that matter, Tyranids, like they're going to get 70 or 80 points. So against these matchups specifically, you really have to play a good game and, not make, that goes for like any game, not making any big mistakes. But against these opponents specifically, you really got to make sure because they can just score a lot of points just by existing. So, more or less, this is the board state. I think going into bottom of 1, going into 2, both not scoring primary first turn. I get established locus and area denial, which is a pretty good pull for me. So, and I believe this was Stalwart's first round. So, Battle Line was able to advance in action, which was really nice. And then you can see here that he wasn't actually able to kill all the flayed ones. I guess I should talk about my deployment here as well. So we're basically lining the warriors up to create this wall. We're stringing them back here with the characters. We have a Scorpec Lord individual here, Scorpec Lord individual back here and here. The reason for that is because there's not we need more pieces. Like we need to have more of like an MSU approach to GSC, in my opinion. That's what I really love about the Scorpec Lord and Scorpec combo is you can kind of tailor your list to the matchup, whether you want to attach the lords or not. So we elected to have them detached, and we have the flayed ones right here. Again, talking about a more recent mastering video where we're essentially denying the scout moves over here because this is a really good staging point, and I don't want him to have a power position here early in the game. So if I lose the flayed ones because of that, that's totally fine. We ended up not losing the flayed ones first turn, which was huge. So they were actually able to reanimate on my turn, charge into these bikes, and just completely lock this side up for a couple turns, which was a huge help. We're staging up the Scorpec Lord here. We're lining the warriors up for strong board control. He shifted these assets up a little bit too close, in my opinion, where you could see that I was just able to basically move, stage up behind the wall to avoid any sort of Overwatch threat, and then charge here. And I think it was only like a 5 or a 6-inch charge. And then I elected to keep the Scorpec Lord back here just because I needed a screening piece turn 1, because against GSC, board control is very, very important. And just any chance that you have in terms of being able to limit their army rule and detachment rule, you got to take it. So we brought Xeris out here to screen. And you can see this is my little trick that I'll talk to you guys about later. Like this is just a subtle reminder for you at the end just to make sure you're screening your 9s. It's transparent for you and it's transparent for your opponent. So maybe just a good habit like to get into. It really helps me. And I do really like that. So getting some of these sticks somewhere is a huge help. And then going into like turn 2, turn 3, let's shift over here. So he's going to drop these guys in, and he's going to attempt to try to get rid of this warrior blob. He has engaged on all fronts and defend stronghold. He is going to get a 10 on primary. And unfortunately, the warriors, they hold on and they survive. So we kept the Scorpec Lord here. We ingressed in these Scorpecs here. We had these actually in reserve this game on this layout. And then we were able to connect next turn over on these assets over here, and then starting to really harass his primary. So he does do a decent amount of work into the warriors, but again, You can kind of set up the play where whatever their push turn is, you pop that res orb once per game, you bring the warriors back, and usually they're committing a lot of resources to try to get rid of that. And then the clap back or the push on my turn is usually, it hurts pretty bad. And you're going to see here, because now the Scorpec Lords are in position to really shift up and start really harassing. So we still have this Scorpec Lord here. This Scorpec Lord's going to shift over here, tag these resources. These are going to come over here and double tie these up. And then the warriors are just hanging out, chilling. And you still have a really strong board space right here. I will say one maybe slight error on my part is I did leave this pocket open right here where he could 6-inch some guys in. I genuinely didn't think that unit could pop the king, but I was pleasantly surprised. And this was a good learning op for everybody watching, no matter what army that you play. Just don't let him do it. Just don't let him do it in the first place. All I needed to do is just move this guy up like 8 inches, just accept that maybe he gets shot, but it's worth it to push back the screen always, because you're going to see here, this was one of the few games where I lost the king. I'll see that, actually see that here in a second, but this was after the turn. You can see the push here and the push here, and we're really like establishing board control here. And this is against GSC, and we just have stuff everywhere. And these Scorpec Lords, they haven't used their bringing back character rule yet. Granted, I don't love having all of them exposed at once, but GSC, I mean, they do a decent amount of damage, but I just didn't think they had enough damage probably to deal with this list because, I mean, let's be honest, I mean, this list is literally a stat check. I don't know if there's a list in the meta right now that's thicker than this list. As far as the way that it's built, I mean, with the Warriors, the Scorpec Lord, the Feel No Pain, Xeris, and then the Silent King on top of that. I mean, it's just it is a thick list to deal with. So you're going to see here, he's going to drop these guys in, as I was talking about with the 6-inch. And he actually freaking one-shots the king. But that is the thing with this list, and I think why it synergizes so well, because in other detachments with the Silent King, if you lose the Silent King, it's like it's like your whole plan falls apart. But the Silent King is kind of like just this synergistic piece. He's just helping me out because the game plan is all around the warriors. So if they spend an entire battle round going after the king and they still do end up killing him, yeah, it's not ideal, but at the same time, it still allows all of these assets to just go do their own thing. And that's what you're going to see here. So the king dies, but now look at this board state. I mean, he didn't have enough output to get rid of these other pieces here. And then all of this is just free roaming around to really just take control of the game after that. And he just didn't have enough left. As you can see, unfortunately, just kind of fizzled in turns 4 and 5. And with our strong board control, I mean, at that point, I mean, the board state was literally like this. And then that was pretty much the game. So, Tom, excellent rep, man. You know, I very confident. Like, if you got to play this game again, I think it would be entirely different. But yeah, very good match against this guy. So, let's go into one that I think you all are very excited about, and that is the new DACA, ladies and gentlemen. And we fought against the one, the only Alex, local player around here. He is also a Necron player. Fantastic opponent. And we were playing on Hidden Supplies, Tipping Point, Burden of Trust. Now, I would like to say that this was a learning opportunity, I think, for the both of us that I wanted to talk about. I asked him beforehand about this, if he'd be comfortable with me, like, just sharing the story, like, on this video. He's like, dude, no, totally cool, just to, like, help everybody out. Burden of Trust, first off, is just a really annoying mission. It's one of those missions where you read it like 20 times and then it still just like doesn't make sense. And the only reason why it makes sense in my head is because, you know, I played this game a decent amount and played this mission a decent amount. And it's like you're already thinking about enough things in a tournament setting that the last thing you want to do is like, all right, I got to go back to this battle round and think about these points and who controlled this and who controlled that. And long story short, both of us just could have done a better job as far as like checking in at the end of each battle round as far as what the point confirmation was, or where the points were at. I know we did it on a couple of the battle rounds, but I can't say with 100% certainty which ones we did and which ones we didn't, and that just falls on the both of us, and it was just a learning opportunity for the both of us. We both walked away, and we're satisfied with the results, but I wish I had more pictures to know exactly like what happened. But I think after I go to this battle report, I think I know potentially what happened. But let's get into this. So, burden of trust, burden of trust, tipping point, hidden supplies. So the big thing with burden of trust is that the person going first gets an extra turn to guard. An easy way to think about this, the reason why is because guarding scores at the end of your opponent's turn and not also at the end of game. Okay, so the reason why this is important is because the person that is guarding first, they're eligible to guard in battle round 5, and then your opponent is going bottom of 5 because you went top, and you'll score those at the end of your opponent's turn. Where it gets a little weird, and we'll talk about this towards the end, is that for the person going second, they are guarding on battle round 4, but they don't score those guard points until round 5 because I'm going top of turn. Okay, so going into this game, more or less what I'm thinking about with DACA is the Ludas are a huge problem. Obviously, they have the output potentially to kill the Warriors, and so the biggest thing with the Ludas is I'm going to try to establish board control round 1, like I normally would, but I'm not going to stay on the points. Okay, so mainly because I don't want him to have the full wound rerolls, but I will say that this layout in particular, I did have the luxury, of standing on the points because I have a nice staging point here to hide behind a lot of terrain and still get a relatively strong primary score. So we're mainly trying to avoid the Ludas. I did end up winning he won the infiltrate roll-off. The one thing I was pointing about Alex's list is I loved that he had commandos in his list. And this is the reason why. Because if he wins the roll-off like he did, he gets to deploy his commandos first. And he can potentially push back my infiltrators. Now, I think the one thing I wanted to point out for him is I would have liked to see his commandos over here rather than potentially over here, because this is more or less where you probably want Zadrog to stage up versus over here. I mean, both sides are not bad, but this is a better launching point, I feel like, for him rather than over here. So then it forces me to put the flayed ones over here, which is what I don't want to do. And then at that point, if the flayed ones are here, then I can't really interact with Zadrog's unit over here. So I think that's the only thing to just help him out, point out that I felt like probably would have played a lot better into me as far as like positioning wise. But this is where he put him right here. So we mirrored the flayed ones over here to block the scout move for Zadrog's unit. Okay, we're still lining up the warriors. So even if there's some crazy thing that happens, like he's just hitting warriors, we keep the crypto thralls up here because they're a decent amount of tax. And then we also have a decent heroic intervene threat with these Scorpex right here. So if he wants to come out with Makari, I mean, he's going to have to deal with a decent amount of damage. Now, I don't think I have enough output to actually clean this unit up in one turn. But the Overlord with the Translocation Shroud is kind of nice because it offers the ability to teleport. So you're teleporting through enemy models on the fallback, so it could make it a little bit harder to move block them. Kind of situational, but it's there. And then we're having the King behind to avoid anything, and then all these warriors are like strung back here as well. Okay, so going into the game, I get established locus, sabotage. So we end up getting first turn, which was a pretty big help. I'm not gonna lie. So it gave us the flexibility to basically neutralize the commandos. We push back Zadrog's unit, and you're seeing the power of infiltrators against DACA right here, and really just trying to push them back. So we line the flayed ones up here as creating still like a move block. We're able to shift up all of these assets and just load up OC on the point. We put a Scorpec Lord, an individual one right here. And then everything else is more or less just staging up. And then we put a Scorpec Lord with the Feel No Pain right here to potentially bait him out and just take this lane, knowing that it's probably not going to be enough output to actually kill him. And then I can go over here and kind of harass some objectives. So turn 1, he gets engage and secure, so not a bad pull for him. So you're going to see him stage up, pretty easy secure. He's going to secure with this guy right here. And then he's going to secure these 2 objectives right here. So easy peasy. He moves up Zodrod's unit. And he's going to charge in, I believe there. Yeah, so he cleans up the flayed ones there. And that's more or less his turn. So going into my turn 2, we get a 10 on primary because we have... we're going to score. So this is, again, where burden is kind of wonky. So we're going to get 2 points here, or sorry, 1 point here, and then we're going to basically situate it so we get 3 guards. So I would hold this point here, and then I'm going to guard with 3 different units on my turn, and then it'll score at the end of his turn, but the points go in that battle round. All right. So going into my turn, now we're basically, the main targets this turn are, we are just going to harass this situation right here. We're going to try to go in with the Scorpec Lord and try to deny this primary. This is just going to clean up Zodrod's unit, or attempt to, and that is basically the turn because we get containment and cleanse. So you're going to see that pan out here. So this is what I love about these Locust Destroyers is it gives you the flexibility to drop them in, contain over here, contain over here. We establish board control here. The Warriors are going to guard, Xeris is going to guard, and the King's going to, or the, I can't remember what guarded back here. It was either the King, or yeah, it was probably the King, because it's not an action to do it. And then Scorpec Lord charges in just to neutralize Zodrod's unit, okay? And then going into his turn, turn 2, he's going to get cleanse and assassination. So pretty good pull for him. He can just cleanse these 2, easy peasy. He's going to easily get the Scorpec Lord, or one of these. And let me fast forward here. And let's get to the meat of it here because I want to kind of keep this moving along. So you're really seeing him shift up a lot of resources here. Now it's really like his go turn, and he's trying to push the Warriors. And I mean, it kind of works. I think the biggest thing in the game is I really didn't have a good way. We were both kind of like neutral because I didn't really have a good way to get to these flash gets. He did a really good job of move blocking with this Morkanaut here to take up space, and then I was kind of doing the same thing of not letting this Morkanaut land in here. I don't know if I have a picture of that, but you can, oh yeah, so you can see here with these Warriors, essentially where I'm rezzing them is right here. So we stay out of an inch. This is a really technical thing, but a good thing to point out. So we're going to stay out of an inch of engagement range, but his base is so big that he's not going to be able to fit in here. So he can't legally make a charge and connect with these Warriors, so it actually keeps them safe in a weird way. So he has to charge Xeris, which he ends up doing. We played a lot of Warhammer, so I can't fully remember if Xeris died or not. But let's see, there we go. I think he might have bounced. I can't fully remember. And let's see here. Yeah, the hex marks are just, they were so clutch in this match. And so we were just, just camping on the points, holding it down, and couldn't get on the points because the hex marks act as like a double Overwatch threat, which was really nasty. These guys go so well into Orcs and Eldar, which you're going to see a lot in the meta right now. They felt great like all weekend. And let's go into the final rounds here. So this is potentially, I think, round 4-ish, and we're trying to get this Morkanaut. It just could not die. It was hilarious, man. Like, I could not kill this thing to save my life. It was hilarious. And we're basically neutralizing everything. We basically got rid of all the threats. All the tank buses are dead. Basically all the Ludas are dead. He's got like 1 or 2 things in all the units, and I just left these guys alive and I couldn't get to these flash gets until really the last turn. And then you're going to see here, this was more or less like the push turn where we're denying his points here. So trying to deny his primary and his guards. And that was pretty much the game. It was very, very close. It's tough to say because the one thing that we potentially messed up on was, so in round 4, he had an 8 on primary and he had the guards up. But the thing is it's not scored until round 5. So I'm not entirely sure if I can't remember if I was able to swing this over to deny this guard, or because I'm missing a picture, so it's tough to say. And again, this is like a learning opportunity for the both of us. And this mission, it's just like, I don't know, it's just nobody's really a huge fan, but it is a mission in the tournament, and it is what it is. But this was an excellent match against the DACA, very, very close. And yeah, I think it was a solid list, especially with the commandos. I just loved that tech. So going in, let me bump this up here. So going into round 3 here, I know we're going against another Alex now. We're going against another Alex, and I know he's watching this. I know you're watching, man. I know you're watching. So Alex, he handed me the loss in the tournament, man. He handed me my one loss in the tournament. And boy, was it a game. So Alex and I played like a month ago for a team, like a team scrim. And it was funny because we're also playing on Purge the Foe. So maybe he just had my number, man, Purge the Foe. And I just can't, I don't know what to do. So very close game. Obviously, we both wanted to go second because I heard going second on Purge the Foe is really good. We're playing Layout 1. We're playing Crucible of Battle, as you can see here. Death Watch, crazy output. He's played against this list before, which I think was a big help, or just a help for him. Just having the knowledge of more or less what my game plan was. He hadn't played against this exact list because I wasn't running the King at the time. So I had a little bit more firepower, a little bit more melee than the list he played previously. And just going to see like how it went. So lined up the Warriors again, as you can see, have Scorpex stage up behind these staging points here. King is on the center. And let's just see what happens. So we keep, the Purge is really tricky because I'm going to be honest, it was not a very thrilling game for either of us because we're both good players and we both kind of know what we need to do to try to win a game like this. And I have a lot of pieces and he does not. And so unfortunately, I had to be very, very careful of how I was exposing my units. So this deployment is a little bit different because the flayed ones are going to be behind this wall. Because you don't want to give him a free kill on the first turn, and you really need to be careful how much you're exposing to get kills. So he gets first turn, and he gets containment and extend battle lines right off the rip. So definitely something you love seeing on the first turn. As far as secondaries go, we were playing Adapt or Die as well, so it gives you the option to cycle one of those twice per game for free, which is kind of nice. So it helped with at least like the secondary draws. And you're going to see him here. He's going to stage up. He contains here. He contains here with his infiltrators and calls it a turn. I'm going to stage up my warriors, bottom of 1. We get assassination, which is a dud. We get recover assets, and then we get cleanse. So I wasn't able to actually cleanse the first turn, so we ended up cycling that for a CP. Mainly because, again, with Purge the Foe, it's tough because if I send out a unit to cleanse, like, yeah, I could have cleansed with the flayed ones or whatever. Now, all of a sudden, I'm potentially giving him a kill and kill more on that turn. You're going to see why that was actually really huge of me not doing that going into round 2. So we cycle cleanse for a CP. We score recover, pass it over to him. Turn 2, he's going to get a 4 on primary because he holds 1. And he didn't have any kills for the turn because the only thing that we're exposing is the warriors, okay? So this is one of the interesting techs with this list is even though it is MSU, you can kind of play it a little bit differently where you don't really have to expose many pieces to kind of interact with the game and let your opponent kind of lead first. So Alex moves up. He gets secure no man's land and engage in all fronts. So, I mean, the cards are telling him to push forward, which he does have to do. So, but he knows that I don't really have a lot of long range anti-tank other than the Silent King. So it was interesting. So I think here it's interesting. I don't know if looking back at this game, I'd be curious to know like his takes if he necessarily needed to put this unit here and instead like swinging over, I guess to max secure no man's land. I guess that makes sense because the Rhino wouldn't have been able to do it, but it would have made it much harder for me to interact with these units as far as like getting a kill. Because essentially what happened is turn 2, bottom of 2. Now I'm going to hold 1, but he didn't get any kills for the turn. So now it's my opportunity. If I can just kill 1 unit, that's going to be 8 points for me in the battle round. But I need to think about going into battle round 3. How can I limit what I'm exposing to make sure that he doesn't get a lot of kills on his turn? So we end up more or less ignoring these Terminators and this Rhino, but we just move block everything. And we're bringing out the Xeris, the 2 Minears, and the Scorpek Lord to interact with this right here. Now, I think one of the errors of the game is I probably didn't need to expose the Minears. It was a tough call, but I really did not want this to go wrong because it was so many points. Because it was literally 8 points if I killed the units, 5 points for area denial, and 2 points for established locus. So if I do not get that, I mean, this is like a 15-point play right here if I don't kill that unit. So I needed to make sure with beyond a doubt. We did end up killing them. And I think with the Scorpek Lord was enough to get the rest of the unit. So now you can see here, essentially, we're limiting what he can kill again. So he can kill this Scorpek Lord. He's not really going to be able to interact with Xeris. We still have the warriors here. And we have the Minears. And the one big oopsies here is I probably should have shifted these wars a little bit more over because there was like actually a little pocket these guys could get out and swing over here. And that's what good players are going to do. They're going to expose things like that. So you're going to see here, this is Death Watch for you, right? So here come the guns, baby. So turn 3, he's like, let's freaking go. So he's definitely going to get a kill this turn. He's going to hold 1. He's going to kill the Scorpek Lord. He's going to swing this unit over here. And I think this was another turn that I probably could have played this a little bit better. I think I got a little greedy, and I was trying to maybe get a hold 1, hold more for this turn, and I think I should have just held back potentially another turn. But he gets Sabotage and Bring It Down. And so he's going to get Sabotage, and then he tries to go after the king. He ends up getting really close. And let me see here. Oh, yeah, so I'm trying to think. So, yeah, he shifts this out, kills the Lord. And then it's tough to say when this next picture was. But, yeah, you can see here that basically next turn, he's pushing all these resources up. I got a little bit too greedy and left the warriors here, so it opened up a lot more charges than probably should have, like on my part. And now at this point, I'm like, okay, we really need to start like killing stuff and trying to come out and interact with these units and try to get some kills. So we get hold 1, we get 1 kill for that turn. We get no prisoners extend battle line, so we're gonna hold 5. We kill 2 units. And then we pass it over to him. And then this is where, at this point, I felt like fairly in control of the game, especially because I had bottom of turn scoring, and that's so strong on Purge. But this is where Alex, man, he doing some Alex things, man. He's doing some Alex things. So we're going to go into round 4 here. So the first big thing is these Terminators here end up banging. I think they needed a 12-inch charge, and they hit it on these Scorpeks back here. And that's just, that's just Warhammer sometimes. I mean, not like completely game defining. I'm still going to like hold this point and everything. But it really did help in terms of getting a kill. And then the next biggest thing was, let's see here. So turn 4, yeah, he's going to get a kill, hold 1, or kill more, and hold 1, and he's going to get recover and behind enemy lines. And so he's going to get behind enemy lines here, which was huge with the Terminators because they bang the charge. And then recover assets, he just does it with a couple units back here. And then this was kind of the turning point of the game, was I had to spend a turn with the king to basically clear this unit off the objective. And then all of these assets here, I mean, he played it completely right, because he's trying to prevent me from getting like a kill or kill more, or specifically hold 1, hold more on the last turn, especially with the warriors. So he's simply trying to take up space, which is what he did. But the biggest thing was that these units here just, like, I think he rolled, it was like a 10-inch charge, an 11-inch charge, an 11-inch charge. So it allowed all of these units to just get a massive movement to push everything over, as you can see. I mean, it was huge. So he's able to completely line this objective because he had so much movement to work with. And then all of this here just to take up space. So there was literally, at that point, because these Terminators swung over here to kind of move, waste a turn to get them off the point, I didn't have a reliable way to get the king out to interact with these units here. And I drew Overwhelming Force and Sabotage, which the Hex Mark was clutch for Sabotage for 6 points here. But I didn't have enough output left to get rid of the Marines here. And he played it really well. And he ended up taking it 72-80. So very well done, my man. And yeah, definitely looking forward to the next game, man, whenever that is. But always a pleasure playing you. So good freaking game. And then lo and behold, so round 4, ladies and gentlemen, we are going against the new Shadow Legion. Now, I would be the first to say that I think my list matches up pretty well into Shadow Legion. So moving things along here, we are playing Hammer and Anvil, and it is the Ritual. And I apologize, this is not the like deployment picture. I forgot to take it, but you get a rough idea of how it started. He was running like 25 Nurglings. I think he had a unit of 9, which you don't see here. So he had another unit of Nurglings that were literally just lining this. So if you're wondering why the flayed ones weren't up here, it's because he won the infiltrate roll off. And just imagine that this whole line is all Nurglings. Okay. And this is what happens when you get your GTs, man. That's the coolest part, is like you will just run into armies that you didn't even think about, and you're like, okay, how can I develop some sort of game plan on the fly to like interact with this? And with experience, it gets easier. And more or less, like thinking about his list, I'm like, okay, the number 1 target is this unit right here. Like this unit has to go. And then all of this stuff, the second, the Bloodthirster is going to connect what he wants. Be'lakor is going to do what he wants. But this unit has the volume to really cause some problems on the Warriors, and there are a lot of OC as well. So more or less, I'm thinking about, okay, we need to get rid of these Nurglings. That's priority number 1. And then these guys got to be priority number 2, and then we'll try to work on these guys. And I think we can pull away with a victory. Now, I will say as well, having the king with ignore mods against Nurglings was a massive help, because you're ignoring the -1 to hit and -1 to wound, so you can chew through them a lot faster than normal. And it also significantly helped that I went first, because if he went first, it might have been a lot more interesting, because obviously Nurglings, they're just going to like try to gridlock me in my deployment zone. So we ended up getting first turn. You're going to see how it worked out. We ended up clearing the 9 Nurglings. We moved up the Warriors so they could action, because we got... we just got Overwhelming Force and Secure No Man's Land. So we got Secure for 1. I actually made like a slight oopsies, and for some reason I just did not put Warriors on the point. And he might have actually lined it, so I couldn't get on there. Maybe that's what it was. But anyways, we get Overwhelming Force for 1 and Secure for 1 and pass it over to him. And we're also going to be ignore mods on the king the whole game. And his first turn, he gets Overwhelming Sabotage, so he's going to shift all this up. He was really smart in terms of not charging the Nurglings at the Warriors, because if he would have done that, he would have essentially given me free primary. Because the nice little trick I like to do is, if they charge in here, well, I guess in that case it would, like, there's interactions where if there's closer enemy models, like if they're over here, then you can pile in this way because this model is going to be closer. It's kind of very like technical thing, but because pile-ins are on a model by model basis, so it was very smart on his part by not charging, and just kind of holding the primary at the 5 points. So we end up getting a 5, and then we get established locus and recover assets. So on this turn, mainly what we're focusing on is really, I know this unit is going to want to come out and play next turn, and so we're essentially just trying to create a move block. I'm just making sure that Mr. Bloodthirster, he can advance and charge, but there's no way that he can land back here. Okay, so what we're looking at this board state, we're just making sure, okay, Be'lakor, they cannot go here, and they cannot go here, because that is going to be a huge problem. We want Be'lakor and Bloodthirster just hanging out right here. Okay, so that's what this list I think plays really well in the Shadow Legion, because the board control is really strong, and we can really kind of force where their big pieces are going to go. So more or less we pass it over to him, and then we're now on all 3 of these objectives. Okay, so going into his turn, he's going to bring out the Chosen. He flies these guys over here to interact with the Scorpex. Bloodthirster charges in. And then this is where things get pretty janky. So he charges in with the Bloodthirster. Now, these guys ended up being, he charged in with the Bloodthirster first, which wasn't a huge, like, it wasn't like a massive, like, mistake or anything like that. But it did open up the opportunity for me to heroic intervene. So the Warriors rolled a 9 in the heroic intervene to essentially shift all of these resources over this way. To make it a longer charge for the Chosen and the Lord. And so he was still able to connect with like half the unit, but those are things that you're trying to like limit, limit the amount of bodies that can actually go into the Warriors to do damage. If he would have charged the Lord first, he would have probably gotten more in, but it wouldn't have negated the fact that I could have still piled in to the Bloodthirster and tagging them up. That's the other thing that makes it really annoying, I think, for Shadow Legion, is that with the pile-in maneuvers, you can tag them so then they don't have enough to actually kill the Warriors, and they're just kind of locked in there, and they can't use their enhancement to pop them back up. So he attacks the Warriors. Because of that maneuver, we're going to end up saving the Warriors. We pull them out of combat, and then essentially the clapback is we basically try to just make sure that we kill that unit, neutralize them with the Scorpex, which we do. So we got them off the table, and then at that point, I felt like the game plan was pretty simple after that, where it's like, I just need to hold this triangle here. We got the threat off the table. He doesn't have enough OC to really get me off these points, and he doesn't have enough damage to get rid of the Warriors. So as long as he doesn't battle shock them or do anything crazy, I think I can control this game and run away with the primary. And so you're going to more or less see that we're scoring 15s every down, cap that out. We scored decent on secondaries, kind of some weird pulls towards the end. He still scored really well on secondary, though, as well, and still edged out on 40. But, yeah, and, still a very close game. Barely edged on this out. I think if I went second on this, I think it's an entirely different game, and it gets a little bit more interesting. But freaking A, man. Chris, great game, and you already know, man. Looking forward to the next one. Hopefully we'll see you at Squick City next month. And let's go into game 4 here against fellow team member Evan, the first team match of the day. We had 9 of our team members there, which was freaking great. And he's playing the new experimental prototype cadre. And it's a cool detachment. Breachers are getting like extra 6 inches on their guns, so they shoot like 16 inches now, which is really cool. And they do a lot of damage to the Warriors. So similar to the Ludas, they get full rerolls when you're on an objective. And we are, again, same thing. What am I looking at? I'm like, okay, those 2 squads are my number 1 targets. Like, I need to make sure that either I'm avoiding line of sight on those units, or I get them off the table as soon as possible. So first turn, we move the Warriors up, but on this one, I am not putting them on the points because I don't want him to have full wound rerolls. And it's taken hold. Like if I take a 5 on the first round, like I'm totally okay with that because of the fact that like he can't afford to have these warriors not be tagged and getting to move again 11. So it kind of puts your opponent in this weird headspace where it's like you don't want to shoot the warriors, but at the same time, like you need to do something about them because you can't afford them just to be like literally up here the next. It just massive problems. So he does try to shoot at the warriors and interact with them, but it just was not, unfortunately, enough damage to do much. And I don't think I got a picture after this, but this was a funny picture. He was memeing. He was memeing on my list, guys. Okay, he's like, how long range is your anti-tank? I'm like 24 inches. He's like, I'm just gonna put this guy right here. I'm like, you freaking asshole, man. I can't believe it. So I had to take a picture. That was pretty funny. So this is essentially the board state going into turn 2. So we're going to get a 15 on primary because we push. I mean, this is a different picture, but 15 on primary more or less. Or I guess it was over for me over here. So 5, 10, 15. And now we're pushing up resources here to start really getting rid of his units. We get rid of both Rampager units on the first turn with the Scorpex. So we get rid of this unit, we get rid of this unit, and now we're just like pushing up field. So you're going to see that play out here. We hold him to a 5. I'll hold him to a 5 on primary, and he gets Storm Hostile and Extend Battle Lines. So it's going to be easy for him to storm like either over here or over here. And then let's see here. And then going into round 3, you're gonna see here we're just pushing more, just kind of speeding things along here. But Scorpec Lords are more or less harassing the Crisis Suits here. This is just gridlocked here, tagging this stuff. Warriors are still establishing board presence, and now this is the go turn for him on turn 3. Where he's bringing out both the Breacher teams. He's going to interact with the Warriors. Now, one thing that I did do is I ingressed in the hex mark, where essentially we are staying outside of 12 of these guys. So he's lone op. But then if either of these, I think I changed the positioning on this guy. But basically, I think we had to move him so he was like right here so you could see both units. But this was a really cool play where I could stay within 3 inches of the Warriors, within 18 of this unit, 18 of this unit. So either way that he fires, like I'll get to like shoot back with the multi-threat eliminator. And again, Hexmark's super clutch in this matchup as well because he's hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s, and it's AP2 ignore cover. So it's like basically AP3, and it just shreds breachers. So he gets his shots on the breachers. He got very close. Very freaking close to killing the Warriors. Like he did some damage. This was after the reanimations, but we did do the classic tricks of reanimating back here with the res orb at the end of the fight phase, and then we reanimate back on the objective at the start of my turn to hold a 10 on primary still. And this is like looking at the bottom of 3 where we get established locus and extend battle lines. So again, we're more or less still pushing up. You're just seeing the Scorpec Lords now just like really pushing and just not really a reliable way to deal with them, and then the Warriors can kind of stay back here because he has to deal with these resources. And then pushing up farther here, this neutralized, and then we got basically towards the end of the game, we get Sabotage and Overwhelming Force, which he'll laugh at this, was like the hardest time trying to freaking get Overwhelming Force on the last turn. I just like could not get it for the save my life. But yeah, it's go turn. King pushes up, try to neutralize as much as we can. But I think it was just the same kind of story where we got rid of the main threats for the Warriors, and the Warriors could just kind of coexist towards the end of the game and just hold primary and close things out. So excellent game against Evan, and I know he's very excited for a rematch. Great freaking guy, good times, and yeah, excited for the next one. So. And then finishing it out, going against the man, the myth, the legend. It is Tanner, ladies and gentlemen. And I know he's probably going to be watching this too. And, dude, Great freaking match, my man. This guy is good at Warhammer. Okay, just straight up. So I was really excited for this match. Again, it is Shadow Legion, and he has a different type of list. So he's running Lord of Change. He's got Bellyman. He's got Berserkers. He's got um, the dogs. He's got a Zinchi. So this one's a little bit more shooty. And he's running pink horrors with Nurglings as well. So slightly different list, and he's running Havocs. So he's got double Havocs with las cannons, which I think is super strong. Just because he's able to still pick some of those resources up, or keep one in the air and then pick one up, so he can essentially drop like 10 las cannons down a firing lane turn one, which is just like super gross, especially on this layout here. So yeah, this was going to be a really good game. Already knew. So we're playing Lichpin, Hammer and Anvil, and this is layout 6. And it was Fog of War, so we couldn't use regular stratagems turn 1. So like your Heroic Intervene, your CP reroll, Overwatch, all that good stuff, right? So more or less similar thinking about this matchup. I'm like, okay, the biggest problem in this list now is the Nurglings. Still got to get them off the table. The pink horrors are kind of a problem because there are a lot of OC. And then the Bloodthirster potentially. Like I just, again, need to limit where the Bloodthirster and all these guys can fly, because Tanner's a really good player. And if you leave like some little pocket open, he's going to freaking find it, and he's going to capitalize on it. So I knew if I made sure that like the move blocks were good and the screening was good and just limiting where he could land, I felt like I had a genuine shot. So going into first turn, he gets engaged on all fronts and extend battle lines. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Definitely helped, I think, going second on this matchup versus first. But so he goes first, and Nurglings shift up here. He doesn't charge the Nurglings into the warriors or anything like that. He just stages them up, and then the king is going to be in ignore mods again this whole matchup. So this is more or less what the first turn looks like. So maybe this was after the first turn. So pink horrors are going to move up, so it makes it really hard to interact with this objective here because it's like 20 OC on this objective. I have a Scorpec Lord with a 4-up Feel No Pain back here on this pocket, which was like probably the MVP of the game. I'm going to be completely honest, because he couldn't get a line with the Havocs, and he had to do something about this because it doing mortals on the charge with the pinks, it actually negates. I didn't know this until I was talking about it. It negates them splitting into the brimstones. So he did not like this guy being here at all. He was definitely, that was definitely a priority target, and trying to avoid the king. So, and the king was in the perfect pocket where it's like he can swing this way, interact here, or swing this way and interact here, and still like stay safe from a lot of threats. So we're more or less, again, we're move blocking everything. So we're preventing like where Bellicor can land. We are trying to deny his primary, which we did a fairly good job of that by just kind of keep harassing this objective over here. And then he was holding this one over here. I think in hindsight, I think probably one of the errors of the game is I probably should have swung more over this way to hold this objective down, because then I didn't have to commit as many key resources to hold this primary rather than focusing over here, because as you can see, I had to stretch this out a lot farther to get back to the resources versus taking these warriors and shifting them over here. But then at the same time, like, you know, you don't have a screen over here, so it kind of changes things. So I don't know, tough to say, but it probably would have been better if the warriors were shifted over this way. But so he's holding 8s on these, and I'm basically holding 8s on these objectives here. So going in, so this is, you know, as I say, they talk about in tournaments, you get lucky. And there's definitely quite a few things that I got lucky on in this game. The first being Bloodthirster is going to charge into the Scorpec Lord with the Feel No Pain, and he completely bounces. Like, I think he hands me 6 saves, and I make all 6 4-ups. Like I was like, oh my gosh, man. Like, that is like actually ridiculous. So Bloodthirster just straight bounces off Scorpec Lord, and that is massive because he's not able to pick up the Bloodthirster at the end of the I don't know if it's at the end of the phase or the end of the turn. So he is stuck there, which it opens up these Scorpecs over here to connect with this resource, and essentially he's going to lose the Bloodthirster for nothing because that happened. Now, he does put Be'lakor over here to essentially put a big durable piece on the objective, and at this point, hey, it's Triarch versus Triarch. Here we go. So I was like, well, he's left me no choice. It's like, we ball. So we got literally Bloodthirster here, Lord of Change here, and we got Be'lakor here. So we're essentially, again, trying to hold his primary down, and the only option is like, classic use it before you lose it. If I just kept the king here, like, we don't want Be'lakor just flying around, so we got to take the risk of trying to get him out in one turn. So we fire both Minears. They both hit. They both wound. He fails one. He ends up CP rerolling one. He saves it, so none of the Minears connect, which was good. But the staff goes off. I get 2 hits and roll 2 sixes for Dev. So it's just a flat 6 damage on Dev wounds. And then we charge him with the king for a tank shock and attack him. I think we get Be'lakor down to like 6 wounds. And then Be'lakor strikes back and gets the king down to like 8 or 10 or something like that. And then let's see. That's pretty much more or less the turn there, like what's happening. And then so he falls back with the Bloodthirster at 2 wounds left. We try to overwatch him with the Hexmark, and he ends up, the Hexmark gets 2 wounds through, and it's AP2 of Narc's cover. So it puts him on his invul. I think he failed one, made one, so it put him down to like 1 wound left. And then at that point, this is where I feel like I definitely lucked out again, where I drew Bring It Down literally at the perfect time. On bottom of 4, and this is Be'lakor at 2 wounds left in the Bloodthirster, and I'm just like, yeah, this is not gonna be good. This is not gonna be good. So, yeah, we end up charging. We end up killing the Bloodthirster, I think, and shooting. And then we kill Be'lakor. The king overstayed his welcome. Like I think he definitely oversaved and ended up on 1 wound left. I think I had a CP reroll one of the saves or something like that. Or no, it was 1. I CP rolled 1. I think 1 went through, and he was like D6 plus 1 damage. He rolled a 4, so it was like 5 wounds, but he's at 1. But one thing to point out, a lot of people don't know this, like, and I think an easy Necron player mistake is that, remember, the king is half OC when he's bracketed. It's not just -1 to hit. So I did not get primary for this objective, so that's one thing to point out. So remember that on the Silent King if you're playing him, because if you don't remember that, like, that would have been a huge mistake, because then I would have scored primary in here, but he's half OC. So Necron players, you got to remember that. It's not just -1 to hit. So him being OC3, I'm not going to get the point. I still get an 8 on primary. And at this point, we basically kill the Bloodthirster, and we kill Be'lakor in shooting. And then the next turn, the Havocs drop in. This is basically like top of 5. And the Havocs come in. They kill the king. Lord of Change comes in. We tie him up with the Warriors basically the whole game, so we can't like pick him up. And then we just push this objective here, and then that's pretty much the game. So we end up holding these 3 objectives at the end, and then getting overwhelming forces, secure no man's land at the end. So we killed these 2 units there, and then that was the game. So excellent game against Tanner. I know he wants to run it back. Very glad I got to just play him. And yeah, overall, I've been very happy with how I did, and just the experience. I think I lucked out and just had like just great opponents all weekend. It was just a great freaking time just hanging out with everybody. And my first 5-1 at a tournament, so it felt really good. And just bringing a very unique list in terms of like how it interacts with the game, because it does play the game very differently. And I think that's what I like the most about it, is that it doesn't like catch people off guard like in a gotcha sort of way, but you do have to play a very different game against this list that I think a lot of players like aren't necessarily used to yet. So yeah, but other than that, gosh, great freaking time. And if you stuck around this long, appreciate you watching. Until the next one, peace.